Turtles, you're kind of hitting everybody there. And there really wasn't a lot of fighting games on the Wii. You know, it's a pretty barren for that. And you know, fighting games in general tend to be more hardcore. You know, using Xbox with 16 buttons, and there's nothing wrong with that. But we wanted to make a game that anybody could pick up and play. So we kind of broke it down. We used the Wii controls, like 2 or 3 buttons. And you know, we looked at, you know, the one thing with making this game is that it wasn't tied at the time to a movie or to a cartoon or to a specific thing. So, you know, working with you guys gave us a rein to the comic books and the cartoons, and we were able to kind of pick and choose. And, you know, I would have loved to make a rated M, blood, God of War, Turtles game. But, you know, the one problem of doing something like that, as cool as it would be, you really kind of cut off a huge chunk of people that would be into the Turtles. You know, the people that love the 80s show or the toys probably wouldn't be into that. So we tried to do kind of a middle ground thing where we wanted to do a lot of throwbacks to the old comic book. So we worked with a bunch of the original Mirage guys, Jim Lawson and Steve Murphy and Eric Talbot, and for our arcade mode we got them to redraw a new comic. We had them dust off the old toning paper, like the old comics. Yep. So yeah, you know, that was kind of our throwback to the comics. And I kind of had mini geek out moments when I'd be on the phone talking to, you know, the same guys that drew that Turtle Soup comic, saying, yeah, you know what, you gotta fix this panel over here, it's not working out for you.
Cool. And Lloyd Goldfine, back in the early days of the Turtles, you were working at an ad agency, Griffin Bacall, and at an animation company called Sunbow. Yeah. So what was your knowledge of the Turtles back in their heyday and that original series? And did you ever have any direct experience with a turtle activity back in the late 80s, early 90s?
Well, the original cartoon thing kind of missed me, passed me by, but I found the Turtles through the comics. I loved that comic book. Back in the day, comic book shops weren't very common, and when a new book came out, I felt it was my personal responsibility to buy the first issue and support those people. And most of those guys weren't worthy of the next issue. But Ninja Turtles black and white original book was amazing. I loved it. And, that was my first
And when we did our deal with 4Kids and you, and where do you think the original show started to fall away that set the stage for us to move in a new direction with you?
what do you mean by fall away?
You know, became less popular, somehow the audience left it. Many people we talked to before we landed at 4Kids wanted to do Fred Wolf's show in CG animation.
I think the big thing that happened with Turtles is just that the marketplace had changed a lot, and they didn't have it all to themselves like they had for many, many years. And so just doing the same thing that had been done before wasn't going to cut through all that. So what could we do different? Well, I love the original comic book that Pete and Kevin did. So let's try and do a show based on the original comic book. It comes more from the comic book. Keep it as tough and as ninja, and give it as much of an edge as we could possibly get away with. And that's how we approached doing something different.
And given your desire to stay true to the Mirage comics, what led to such concepts as got away from the comics as Shredder is an Utrom, the Battle Nexus, a new major character like the Hun? Where did those
were original comics.
Were they? I must have missed that issue.
One of the big differences between the original show and this show is Pete's involvement. Peter Laird was involved in every stage and every step, and it just like Kevin, Pete's been doing it for 25 years, so he was looking to entertain himself. And you know, what new twist could he bring to it? What else could we be doing that hadn't been done before? Pete's not, not the Shredder again. So sorry, sir. So Pete was very, very open and flexible to new concepts, new ideas, ways to expand that universe in a way that I don't know that I could have been if it was my property. And but Utrom Shredder, that was Pete. That was Pete.
Cool. So now hearing a bit about the past and present goings on with the Turtles, let's turn to Scott and Galen to learn a bit about what they have in mind for the future of the Turtles, as much as they'll share something with us. So, guys, what is it about the Turtles that you've now heard from these guys that made you want to get involved? And where do you see a jumping off point for it?
There's a tough room. Where do we go from here? I mean, geez. Yes, turtle babies.
That's going to be all over the internet now. We're screwed.
Peter just turned over. He was laying down. I was like, okay. You know, this is a special room because everybody here is a fan and has grown up with this franchise. And, you know, I love the Turtles. I think they have such a special quality overall in general, and I know why it's gained such a massive popularity. But the key is, we want to make the greatest turtle movie ever. He told me not to say that. But it's I think in the world we live in today, in the super golden age of superheroes, where the Viewmaster film is going to... I think that we need to get back to where all this started. And where it started is I think Kevin and Peter created a magical piece that really set the tone. I mean, it was them and Superman. And, you know, they started it out way back, and my hat is off always for this man right here, Steve Barron. And I just have to say,
Well, because remember, the reason we say that, it's very simple. Carl alluded to something a little earlier on, which was the interesting thing about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was the combination of action and humor. And this man added heart. And I can assure you that we will not forget either one of those three things when we make this movie. It's really important. It's humor, it's action, and it's heart. And that's what I think makes this thing work. You know, we really do have a lot of respect for what has gone before. We need to look forward. Look, I make movies, which, by the way, is a pretty good gig. So if you're thinking of like changing, it's pretty good. You should do it. I just think it's like you get. No, seriously, I get to, you know, having become friends with Frank Miller, or having to fly to Connecticut to sit in Maurice Sendek's barn, or hang out with, you know, Eastman and Laird. You know, it's the greatest job ever invented ever. So what it does is it puts a weight on your shoulders when you realize, look at this room. For 25 years, this brand has meant something important to each and every person in this room. Galen and I take that very seriously. I've been very fortunate in my life to have touched the Batman brand, the Superman brand, and know what it takes to say, let's make sure we don't dishonor what's gone before, but yet look at where we are today. We have new generations of fans, and let's give us something that allows us to take today's storytelling techniques with the brilliance that's gone before, and let's create something, as Galen puts it, that's the best Turtles movie ever.
We had an announcement this week that you're probably all aware of.
Who announced that?
John Fusco has been hired by these fellows to be the writer of the movie. And not a coincidence, John also wrote a movie that Steve Barron directed, Dreamkeeper. And Steve has thought highly enough of John to say, I really think you should talk to him, and it worked out well. So what can you tell us about John and what he's going to bring to